Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis. Here is my lovely co-host. We have Tanya. How are you doing, Tanya?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I mean, got the sun in my eye, but other than that, I'm doing pretty well. All the seasons of reality TV that started kind of in the late fall are starting to wrap up. And so it's feeling cathartic. And I'm happy that we're coming to the conclusion of Tayshia's love story. How are you feeling overall about The Bachelorette and kind of how the journey of the season so far?
Week to week as I'm watching and thinking about where this season began to where we are here, my biggest takeaway is I honestly really think Tayshia is an excellent bachelorette, and she'll probably end up being kind of underrated in the long term of bachelorettes that we've had because the season happened in the way that it did.
For sure.
But I think she's done an amazing job of being the lead, and I think I really have enjoyed watching her take the journey personally, and that surprised me. I didn't know what to expect. So
Me too. And if this is your first time on Reality Realness, well, then welcome. We are very happy to have you. We're all about reality TV and all the gossip that may go along with it. So we are talking today about The Bachelorette. We're talking about I think it was episode 11, maybe a little bit of episode 10. I might want to hear what your thoughts are about the Men Tell All. But if you haven't done so already, please subscribe right down over there. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers, and we can't do it without you. So we already have our biggest fan, Dolores, is in the house. Hello, Dolores.
Hey, Dolores.
She says, whoop, whoop. Yes, we are on. So I already did a little recap of the Men Tell All episode with Brazil, but I definitely need to know of any of your takeaways or find moments that stand out from Monday's episode.
Yeah. Biggest takeaway is I actually prefer the Men Tell All with less men there, because I feel like it wasn't just a shouting match or some kind of pile on, as much as there were a lot of funny conversations happening over the course of that episode. But I thought I was going to hate the fact that it was set up the way that it was, but I actually liked it a lot more. And then also Yosef is the worst.
Yosef is the worst.
And the worst. Just the worst.
Surprisingly, but I can't believe he doubled down on him being kind of a really repulsive human being. He just doubled down. He had the opportunity to get the out. If he had just taken Chris Harrison up on his hey, do you regret anything? And he said, you know what? Yes, if I really look back and I reflected, I can see that maybe how I chose to approach this would have been different, blah, blah. I think that he would be still allowed in the Bachelor Nation, do the whole, still be the villain, but I think he'd be invited onto Bachelor in Paradise. I think that he just slammed that door for his pride. Was it pride?
I don't understand what's wrong with him. And it's textbook example of not taking accountability for your own actions in any way. I could not believe that he not only stood by what he did, but like you said, doubled down and actually continued to go down that road. I'm like, what a terrible take. So I hope we never see him again. I'm sure we won't, because he really, like you said, did not earn his opportunity back. And sorry to his daughter for having to deal with him in life, because he seems honestly terrible.
Well, what we were saying that Brazil and I was that he may have a child, but he might not be a father figure. He might not be very active in the child's life. For him to be able to speak that way about his daughter, it was just shocking to me, because I'm you'd think that he would have some sort of perspective when he'd be like, oh my God, if I think about my daughter having someone talk to them like that, wow, I would beat up that guy, or whatever you just want to say. He wanted to hurt the man maybe that would do something negative to his daughter. And instead he was I would hope that somebody would put my daughter in their place if they acted like that. I was even if it's deserved, like deserved. It's not deserved. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
No.
like in like oh, she deserved the hit. Like she deserved it because she wouldn't shut up. Like, you know, those bad like male chauvinist jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I was really disappointed in the fact that he just didn't have any like healing, self-reflection. I heard that he even was out like with friends and watching it like episodes with friends in like a bar type thing. Like he has people that are really like, yeah, go, yeah, you got her. You really, you know what I mean? Like people rallying for him. I'm just like, wow, it's really
He's embarrassing. He's very embarrassing as a person.
Okay, so Dolores says, okay, girls, how about hot dogs to not so hot dog ratings? Tanya, who would you give a hottie rose to? Okay.
Wait, what?
I think it's like comparing like all the guys. So like which guys do you think are hot or not hot?
On the show currently?
Yeah, maybe we'll do like the whole season. Like who do you think is the best looking? And then we can maybe do also.
Oh, that's so subjective.
Okay, let's do it with and without personality. Because I actually I think Yost is good looking. I think Chasen is good looking. I think Damar is good looking. Like
I do think if it's not personality based, that I thought Dale was extremely good looking, but I don't know about his personality. And I think Brendan is, like, in my opinion, the person who's the hottest currently. That's how I feel. But
Brendan, okay, that's the guy. Dolores says yes. Oh yeah. Who do you think, Dolores? Who are your top picks of hotties of the season and Final Four? Out of the Final Four, definitely. No, I think Ivan is better looking. But I guess like I'm also being skewed by the chemistry that Tayshia has with Brendan, and I don't feel like she has that with Ivan. So it just doesn't make Ivan as like hot, in my opinion. Just like he doesn't exude that sexual energy, and so. But I think his face is aesthetically the best looking for me out of the Final Four, is what I think. Sam's in the house. Hey, Sam. Hi, Cassandra. I think Zach looks better than Brandon. Oh, really?
That's a hot take.
I felt as though Zach became better looking to me, though, with his hometown date. Like, with his family.
It's weird how this show does this, though, because I feel like I go into the season. First of all, the photos that they have of the guys are always like so ridiculous, like Sears Portrait Studio energy. But I always think some people in the first episode are so hot and then they get less hot to me over time. Or like, I wouldn't have say I went into the first episode and saw Brendan and was like, he's my number one hottest guy. But as it progressed, that's what happened. So it's hard to say. But it's also beauty's in the eye of the beholder, you know? It's all subjective at the end of the day.
Well, and also as we learn about their personality, like then their attractiveness comes through in my opinion.
Of course.
You know, like some people I'm like, oh, not hot, but I'm like, oh, but they're so funny and like they're so kind and gracious that like they're just like, oh my God, they're so hot now. Laura says, yeah, Dale was cute. It's once he spoke, not so much. Yeah. Because Brenda's head is
is it? Maybe they're all the Final Four that she has are all like very different looking people too. So I think that is showing how she's gone along and gotten to know everybody, how her feelings have developed, but like none of them look the same at all.
No, exactly. Like, and they're very different personalities. And I like that. I like that she seems to have opened herself up to like not having a particular type, even though, okay, so who do you think, actually, no, we'll talk about that at the end. Sam says, Ivan and Tayshia are cute, but people are saying he's a kid in her presence. Yeah, I can agree with that. Before we get on to episode 11, what did you think of the Blake and the Riley breakups?
Oh. Okay, so I think the Riley one was like pretty real and pretty raw. He seems to be someone who doesn't really open up very much, as we've seen, and he felt that he was able to kind of do that with Tayshia, and we get that he felt somewhat strongly for her, but let's be honest, like we knew that she wasn't going to be picking Riley. So I understood that emotion that was there and where he was coming from, as well as where she was coming from. The Blake, I really didn't understand why that was such a dramatic reaction, but I can only chalk it up to just Tayshia feeling bad about sending people home, honestly. And I can understand that. I would feel awful, like whether you knew you were going to pick them or not, when you actually have to have that conversation and you know it's going to hurt somebody's feelings. You could tell she doesn't want to do that. And I think maybe that's where that emotion was coming from, not because it was Blake specifically. I think she just would do that for anybody.
Yeah, no, I definitely was like, you liked him that much? I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think so. But yeah, no, I think that it's just the accumulation of all the breakups that you have to do. Like, you know, we dread it if we have to do it once every couple of years, being like, okay, this isn't working. You know, like I'm even like right now, I'm thinking of breaking up with my agent. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do it. So yeah. I can imagine having to do this with 15 other guys, and now it's getting to the point where she knows that they have feelings for her, and she probably has feelings for them, but they're just progressing, as she said many times, more with some than others. And so I do feel for Tayshia here. Yeah. Blake, I don't think was really that into her. I think he enjoyed being on the show, and I think he was kind of putting it on a little bit just to get a little bit more screen time, which is fine. Like, you don't have to be in love with the lead to want to be on the show. It's like, I'm not mad at that. But Riley, I felt bad because I think that she did allow him to open up in a way that he probably hasn't in a very long time. But it's unfortunate that it's too little too late. Yeah. Not that she needed to have somebody that's completely open, but she was able to progress her relationships with people that were open with her sooner. And so he says always happens the same result, or he said something to that effect. And well, yeah, because it's probably like you allowed yourself to open up when it was too late. And that's what he should be taking away from it, not the fact that he opened up, is that it took him too long to open up because they weren't at the same level in the progression of the relationship. But I hope that he continues to keep opening his heart, because like he's such a likable person when he's like being just relaxed, you know what I mean? And like and open and loving. I mean, I know that he's from the East Coast, so there's a little bit different kind of like vibe and sentiment, and like, you know, I think he's from New York, so like there's like a New York attitude and temperament that goes along with it as well. But hopefully his vulnerability will come through more often, and so he may be able to like get into a long-term relationship with somebody that deserves him. So we'll see. So episode 11 is basically hometown dates. And okay, I think it happened in every single one of these dates, but you tell me, is a producer forced that she has to run and jump and wrap around the guy when she's seeing him? Because with her, I definitely noticed it for the first 2 or 3. And I remember with what's her name? Becca? No, Becca. She did that for every one of her one-on-ones. You'd see like the wide shot of her running and then jumping and wrapping her legs around the waist of the man. Did they practice it? Is it the producers, we need this shot? Like, what's happening there?
Okay, so I've thought about this a lot, actually, surprisingly, because it's a Bachelor staple, okay? It's a franchise staple, the run and jump into the arms of the person that you're going on the date with. It's as much of a staple as standing outside on the balcony of the hotel and yelling the name of the city that you're in. It's the Bachelor staple. It happens. I'm wondering, though, if it's a chicken or egg type of situation, because I think maybe one person did this and other people saw this and were like, oh, I should be running and jumping into their arms. Like, that's what I should be doing. Like, that's the most like expressive greeting of love I could give. And then everyone just started doing it? Or are they all being encouraged to do it? And if so, imagine filming that.
Well, like I even heard, I don't know which date it was, but she's like kind of giggled beforehand. She's like, and like then she goes and runs, and I think it's because they must have had to do it multiple times.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I thought it was really funny. But the first person that she does do that with is Brendan. And I felt that she seemed really genuine to see Brendan. There's something very soft about their connection. Like, it's the way he looks at her, like it seems like he really just likes her and like admires her, and it's very like kind of gentle, and I like it. What do you think about their connection and just like how they, other than the run jump, but
I like the way that they are in each other's company from what we see. Obviously it's not a full picture of their personalities, but I feel like he's like kind of like nervous, giggly around her, and that's like very sweet and very endearing. But I feel like she's also not awkward with that energy, and she also feels very comfortable in that space with him. Like it doesn't feel like a high stress relationship. They have deep conversations, but they don't feel maybe as weighted or as heavy as some of the other men who have a little bit more serious of a disposition. Like he just seems like very sweet. Yeah. So that's their vibe, but definitely still a physical connection, obviously.
And what do you think about their hometown date? So he invited his niece. I forgot her name. I wrote it down somewhere. His niece came on the date, and it was kind of, they set up a fair. A good fair. I think that fairs and amusement parks are really great dates. It's just fun, giggly, like, you know, usually you have to wait in line, so you get to like have little mini conversations. You can see how they act when they're just like tired of waiting. I don't know. I think it's a good date thing. You can win the prize for the person. You can have funnel cakes, whatever. So what do you think about him inviting his little niece to join them on the date?
I think this is a big power move. I mean, I don't know how much they knew about who was going to be coming for them in advance, but having the niece there specifically is just such a power play, because we know that Tayshia wants kids. We've already had that conversation. So understanding that that's something that she wants. If I didn't want kids and then I had a date where I had to be around a kid, I would feel definitely a little bit more uncomfortable. But because we already know that's what she wants, it's perfect, because it shows him how natural and awesome he actually is with his niece. Like, if you're someone who's looking for a potential partner and you see that this person is good with kids and natural, obviously that's a very attractive thought, right? Like, you can't help but be like, wow, they'll be such a great parent. So very smart to introduce that at this point of the process, because he came out looking like totally awesome as an uncle and like very, very great with his niece. So
definitely love seeing him with his niece. I think I'm like a sucker for a good handshake. I don't know if you watched Love Island, but what we love Johnny and Sally from the beginning is that handshake. The handshake sealed the deal for me. And so the fact that he had this cute little handshake with his niece and like little dance moves with it, and like he gets into it, I think it was really endearing, and it showed Tayshia, in my opinion, how he would be as a father, and that they would have fun together as a family. And so, yes, power move 100%. I think it was like, that was a game-changing move, I think. Well timed
to throw that in.
Well, and I'm just curious, so because with how the previews for the next episode seem to be happening, like, I'm wondering why he threw in that power move if he was having a little bit of like doubts, you know what I mean? Or maybe the doubts came after, but I was like, you know, you don't start bringing in kids into the equation, I think, unless it's something that you really see moving forward, you know? So I'm just curious if something changed, or if he had that thoughts before like the niece came into the picture.
Yeah, I think he's had the doubts because he's kind of expressed that he doesn't want to
propose,
getting engaged again, unless it's like the person that he's going to marry doesn't want to propose necessarily. So I feel like that's always been an undertone, but I really do believe that he likes her and wants to be with her. I just think practically speaking, he's like, do we have to get engaged? Like,
I hope I mean, I obviously we want the engaged, but they did. I think you might have mentioned this. They did get the engagement already with Claire, so maybe they're okay with not having an engagement with Brendan because, I mean, we're gonna get into the other dates as well. I just think that she likes him the best, and I think it's just like it's just a chill, like she has a good relationship with these other guys, but there's something that is like home or like relaxed, as you even mentioned. Like there's something very calm about their relationship that makes me feel like it's sustainable, you know?
She likes him the most, but he's the least likely to propose of the four that are left. So it's kind of like, what does she really want? Like, does she want the person or does she want the proposal in that next step? Like, where's she really at? Like, really, Tayshia, not like Bachelorette Tayshia. Because if you like this person the best, they're not going to propose to you, then like, fair enough. That's the person that you want to be with. But maybe she wants like someone who she can see that next step with. I don't know.
Oh, I love Dolores. Thank you. Have a good time. Get back to work. Keep up the brilliant podcast. I will catch up on the rest later. Thank you, Dolores. We love your support. Oh, and Cassandra did have a little add-on here. I'm amazed she did the hug jump into Zach's arms with the full length gown. I know. I was surprised. So I was like, is it coming? Is it coming?
She's committed to that bit.
I know. She's like, okay, gonna do it. That's probably the one where she was giggling beforehand. Probably because she's like, why am I doing this in this dress? I'm gonna fall. So she meets Brendan's family, but it wasn't his parents, if I'm not mistaken. It was his sister and his brother and his brother's wife, the mother of his niece, or the parents of his niece, I guess. Do you hear anything in the gossip train about like why his actual parents didn't come, or did one of his parents pass away? I'm not sure.
Well, we find out that his father passed. So obviously that's why he's not there. Not sure why his mom wouldn't be there, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of talk online from what I've been reading about why certain people were brought in for these hometowns and who they are and why like parents weren't there for all of them and whatnot. And I think we have to be aware, like, it's COVID. Like, who really knows the reasoning behind who they got to quarantine for this? Like, maybe some people's parents are just not willing to be on the show or not willing to displace themselves or vulnerable. Like, we don't really need that explanation. But then in this case, his dad's not there because he's not alive, you know, like that. My biggest takeaway is like why we didn't get that information sooner, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of been important with like learning about like who am I going to meet on the hometown? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the conversation would have come up because especially because they talked about important issues. They talk about their marriage, talk about disappointing their family. So you would have.
It's possible he did already say it to Tayshia in some capacity, and they just never like put it into the story. So. Otherwise, I feel like it would have been something that would have been focused on a bit more or like kind of used a bit more to progress things forward in terms of story. And they kind of just glossed over that. So it's like, okay, she must already know then.
Yeah, that's possible too, for sure. Brendan's brother kind of gets teary-eyed talking to Tayshia and like talking about their love. And Brendan's getting teary-eyed when he's talking about Tayshia and the love and all this stuff. And I like seeing him being vulnerable here. And his brother even thinks that they're a good match. And so I think that that's something that's really important because I think he really respects his brother, and his brother probably saw him for however many years in that past relationship, that past marriage. And so the fact that his brother's saying that they think that they're a good match, I think that's really good for them as a couple. I don't know who said this, but I put it in quotes. You really are amazing. Do you remember who said that? It must have been Brendan saying it about Tayshia or to Tayshia.
Or vice versa. Yeah.
So even when, the date ends and the hometown date ends and Tayshia's leaving, she really didn't want to leave him. Like they're hugging and like, she even says in the voiceover, like game over. And I wrote down, this must be foreshadowing, but for the fact that this is the second time we hear her saying that she can see him at the end. She can see him as her husband. Game over. Like nobody else can kind of combat how she feels about Brendan. And I'm like
Yeah.
really worried hearing those sound bites.
It's tough because I think for him it got really real for her to meet his family. He clearly has like a really great relationship with his brother. Actually, I want to say across the board, all of the family and friends seemed awesome. It was one of my favorite hometowns to watch, surprisingly, because I really enjoyed everybody's family, which just never happens. And this top 4 is actually really good. So who knew? But yeah, I think like also for her, if you meet someone's family and you feel like you can really get along with them, you can start to again see yourself in that world, and you can start to see what your life might be like. So I think it's just the reality of the situation is really setting in at this point. And I think maybe she didn't expect that this was really going to be a process where she found her true love, because it was this last minute, whirlwind situation, and now it's getting realer for her also.
Oh boy, what's gonna happen next week? I'm so nervous.
I actually don't know. I think like this is one of the times where I actually don't really know who the final one is going to be. Normally, I feel like by the finale, when there's 2 people left, you really know exactly who she's going to pick or he's going to pick. But I actually have no idea this time around, which is rare.
I know, right? You usually have like an inkling of like who's like the front runner or whatnot. Definitely who the final 2 is. I mean, I think you can imagine who the final 2 is going to be, but I don't know how it's going to end at all. So the next date is Zach, where she does the run and jump in her ball gown, and they're kind of emulating life in New York. So they had a cardboard taxi that he was teaching her how to hail. It's a cute kind of moment because Tayshia is a little bit more, is definitely more West Coast in my opinion than New York. She's a little bit softer and like just a little bit more California girl as opposed to like New Yorker. So I thought it was a cute moment, him teaching her how to hail a taxi. What do you feel about having cream cheese and blueberries on your bagel?
Okay, so this is a hot topic online. I didn't understand like how divisive of an opinion this was, but this is how I feel. I understand where Tayshia is coming from because I like a blueberry bagel, like the actual blueberries bagel baked good, not blueberries on my cream cheese in my bagel. I'm not really into that necessarily. So I get it. I like blueberry bagels. I didn't realize this was such a sacrilegious concept in the bagel world. Like, do people not like a sweet and savory combo? Come on. It's like a cinnamon raisin type situation. Like, you just get a little bit of sweetness in the mix, but apparently this is like not okay.
Yes, I think definitely the savory sweet debacle. I'm not sure, but I think maybe Zach might be Jewish, and so
a traditional bagel.
You know what I mean? They lox and cream cheese is kind of how they bagel it as a very generalized, stereotypical like of Jewish people in North America. So that could be maybe part of it as well, is that he's used to having salmon and she's used to having like a sweet and savory combo. So, because he definitely gave her a look, and I thought it was going to be like he's going to get like a confessional being like, this may be the straw that broke the camel back. I don't know if I can get over this.
I get side eyes every time I have blueberry bagel with something savory. People are just like, ew, I don't understand how that works. I'm like, I don't know. Okay. Like, it satisfies me. But I also think if he's like a New York bagel person and you're getting bagels like out, like on the street, like street food, you're not getting a blueberry like that's not what they have. They have like the fresh bagels that they make and not these like fancy flavors.
And they also most likely, I mean, I don't know why it was there, but with the different condiments that you'd have maybe at a bagel stand, you'd have like lox, you'd have maybe red onions, you'd have capers. Like those are like the quick pick up and grab toppings like lettuce, tomato to put maybe in or cucumber as well, the bagel. So I just don't think there being a little container or a ramekin full of blueberries.
Yeah.
Demand of people that didn't have the blueberry bagel, but they're going to make do by putting blueberries on their bagel.
That I would never do. Like, I would never do that. If there was a blueberry bagel that I could toast and put some cream cheese on, absolutely, I like that. But would I put blueberries on my cream cheese on my bagel to emulate that? No, absolutely not.
And I do, and I agree with you, the sweet and savory. Like my mom's from Jamaica, and it's called it's just called bun, but it's kind of like a spice bun, and usually that with cheese. And so it's kind of like a Christmas cake type thing. So it has like raisins and like that kind of cinnamony and that kind of flavoring to it. And we eat it with cheese, like a hard cheddar kind of thing. And so
delicious.
It's really good. It's really good. But blueberry, I don't know, it would be the one for me. And I also kind of have a thing with, have you seen Stand By Me?
Mm-hmm.
So like the whole blueberry pie scene?
Yes.
So I'm just not a fan of blueberry with cream cheese because I feel like it would taste kind of like vomit, unfortunately.
I don't know. I mean, again, I think I heard.
Okay, hold on. Michelle Nash.
Here we go.
So this is coming from somebody from that background saying blueberry bagel and cream cheese is classic. Also add bacon. Michelle.
There you go.
And cheese. Yes. Yum. Delicious. Exactly, Cassandra. Oh my God, Michelle.
We should not be bagel shaming people, like at the end of the day, that's the great thing about a bagel is you can customize. So if you want a blueberry cream cheese and bacon, which I agree is delicious, then you can get it. But you can also not because it's a bagel and you can do whatever you want. It's magical.
Well, I do like though putting like French toast with eggs with like syrup and hot sauce. Like I can get behind it. You know what I mean? So
agreed.
I can get behind the blueberry bagel, but I can't get behind the bagel.
Blueberry on the bagel. Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree.
Okay, so Cassandra's also saying, what if some of them told their parents don't bother coming? I don't think she's going to choose me. That's possible. Maybe their parents want to come and quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
That's something very possible. Like they'd be like, oh, we don't know if we're going to be like getting the hometown date. Like, I don't know if I want to stay locked up in La Quinta for a month.
Yeah.
But with like the young girl, I'm sure like that's like a little fun vacation for them. So I think that's probably why they came. Okay, all the comments we talked about. Okay, so what else happened next? So taxi, blueberry bagel, and so his family, so it was his brother. Who else was there for him?
His parents, right?
Right, yes. Zach's parents. And definitely, I was surprised a little bit. For whatever reason, it could have just been my own judgments of, anybody that may have had an addiction issue. I just thought like they're very highbrow. It seemed to me like they're very, like he came from seemingly a very loving family. So I was a little bit surprised of, we'll say, the pedigree of his family. And I was just curious even more so as to how he kind of went down that road because it seemed that he came from, it just didn't seem, I just didn't expect his family to be how they were. I think they were great. They were loving and lovely.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that for whatever reason he went down that path from who.
Well, I mean, there's definitely lots of forms of addiction that occur like with people of that social and economic status. Absolutely. There's no face to what a addict looks like, really. I think his family seemed really awesome and very supportive and nice. I liked them a lot. And they keep speaking to this idea that like they know that he's serious about this, or like this is good for him because he's finally smiling and like, like expressing himself in that way, which leads me to believe that his feelings for Tayshia are actually pretty legit. Like I didn't think he was lying or anything, but I think like when they were saying that, that seemed to be very true. Like, I don't think they were just throwing that out there for no reason.
I agree. And he was saying a lot of things like, I haven't smiled in so long. And the fact that he was always saying that he'd just be an uncle and that he would never maybe have a family of his own. And this was the first person that has made him open his eyes to the possibility of having a family.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really great for them to recognize. And it did show for both of us, obviously, that he has strong feelings for her.
Mm-hmm.
One thing for me, though, I felt that it's a little bit of a trap, in my opinion, for Tayshia. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, if she's not fully there yet, I think that there might be a bit of a guilt to be like, oh my God, I'm the person that's gotten to open up this way. And like, I'm not there with him. Like, I'm going to choose somebody. Like, I don't know. I just feel a little bit bad that I'm not sure she fully feels the way that he does. And I don't want her to break his heart. And I don't know. It's just like kind of a weird dynamic.
I think I guess it depends on where you see Zach falling into the picture of the way this season ends. Because it's so hard for me to say, because this episode complicated things a lot more, but knowing what we know personally, and in the chat, if you agree, like the final two has got to be Zach and Brendan, right?
Exactly.
Like, so it really does then come down to that decision of like, you have somebody here that will be ready to propose to you and is ready to take that step in life. She kind of talked about like she could see herself in New York. I think that is a very like influencer type choice. Like if she's going to move somewhere and she's from California originally, like she'll go to New York City. Like that makes so much sense. You know what I mean? So I think if she wants to go there, that option's there. And I think she's realizing more and more that that option is truly there, and didn't think that it would be with Zach, but it is, you know, it's just like, it's just unfolded that way. They just kind of have this connection or whatever. Whereas with Brendan, if he's the other option, you're probably not going to get that proposal or that same level of certainty about that happening, but they probably have the best natural connection. So I'm curious to see what happens, because there's a case for Zach to be like her choice, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't ask you about this before, but how do you feel about Zach pulling Tayshia into the fountain? I
felt badly about the dress.
I know.
I was saying, first of all, I don't want to be in any fountain, and they're really trying to. This La Quinta fountain is like a character in the show now, because this is like the second time we've seen it. Like, stop getting wet in this fountain while you're clothed. Stop.
Oh, they also threw the coin in there as well.
Yeah.
The third time, or no? What was the second?
Maybe one? Yeah. Maybe. Well, she did with Ben in that scavenger hunt.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that was like, okay, so Zach, let's just show how carefree Tayshia is, and let's pull her into the fountain wearing this like very expensive dress. Just show how she's such a guy's girl. Like, she's just so great. I mean,
they were like, oh, it's like the Friends intro. Haha, hee hee, how fun.
I mean, I guess like I would do that for the shot. It was for the shot.
Yeah.
Because like it was like comfortable. Like, nobody likes having mascara dripping in their eye. It's just like not a thing. She probably has hairspray in her hair and that's going in her eye. Like, it's never really great to get wet when you're wearing makeup. She knew she was gonna get the hair and makeup change going into the night portion, so she was like, forget it. True. So one thing though that Zach's dad did say is that he came from a small town and that he didn't think that he could be one of four guys vying for the love of one person. But he also was really very like so gracious and like kind to Tayshia, even though he had that feeling like this parents that like they don't believe in the process, and like they're kind of poo-pooing the lead for even taking their partner or their family member on that journey. And so I thought that even if they didn't really understand it, I thought that they were just really kind and gracious. And I think it must be because of how they're seeing Zach. Because if they haven't been seeing him smile in however many years, like, I don't know, it just must have been nice for them to see what she brings out in him. So.
And if I was in their shoes, like, or if I was Tayshia and I talked to somebody's family and they had absolutely zero skepticism about me choosing their son. And they just were like, yes, for sure. You have my permission. It's great. It's fine. I would be like way more alarmed by that than by people actually being like, yeah, I'm skeptical of this show and this process. Like, obviously, it's practical to look at it that way. She's only going to choose one of 4. So I would be like, okay, sure. But that needs to be discussed. If someone was just gung ho, I'd be like, I don't understand.
Yeah, it's like,
why.
Okay, this is a weird family.
Yeah.
And she also really got along, it seemed, with his mom. They had some nice moments and they cheers or whatnot. And I think that she was also really envisioning herself as part of this particular family. And so I think that she just really did get along with Brendan's family really well and with Zach's family really well. So I was kind of like, wow, like what's going to happen with the next 2 dates? Because she's really good at assimilating into the family life here.
She is amazing at adapting to like whatever energy each family was giving her and seeming like completely natural and at ease with everybody. It felt like so she was very good at navigating that, maybe the best at doing it. It didn't seem like she was putting on an act. She seemed like to really be easy to talk to. She wasn't afraid of answering like tougher questions. Like she did a great job.
100%. Hi, Laundry. How are you? Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you. Okay, so Tim said Zach seems like a very stern person, and I feel like he needs Tayshia to bring out that fun side, but I don't know if Tayshia wants someone so serious. Right? There's something. I can see her picking him, but there's just something about their dynamic that it seems one-sided, but she's just allowing herself to be in it, you know? Even I think you mentioned he kisses her really passionately, but I don't know if she kisses him back as passionately. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's necessarily instigated. So hopefully she brings this out in him and it's for the long haul, but I'm not sure if it is.
Yeah.
And being someone all the time is really, really heavy.
And we have to say, like, based on what happened with this episode too, like the more serious personalities or the people that are outwardly more serious, which would be Zach and Ben, clearly the Ben thing wasn't working out. I think part of that, and we'll get to it, is just his timing, I think, was too slow. And she really had to drag a lot out of him over the course, or had to like pull a lot out of him. But either way, like those two are much more serious, and then Ivan and Brendan are a little bit more carefree, still serious guys. Like they're not like, you know, but they just have a more open, I don't know, happier energy. I don't know.
Light. Like even if they're talking about heavy things, it doesn't feel like heavy, you know?
Yeah.
Not that they don't take what they're talking about seriously, but I guess maybe there's a little bit more optimism or a little bit more like looking at it from a lighthearted perspective as opposed to it being like, this is really bad, you know?
Yeah. I kind of agree with what you're saying though in this comment about Tayshia, like if she wants someone so serious. I'm not too sure, because I think like she has had her life that has been sheltered in its own way, and she's had her experience. I think for her to be in a long-term relationship with someone that just carries that seriousness so much more, I don't know if that's her vibe. Like I think like she would be better balanced out by somebody who is like Ivan or Brendan, that still like has that playful side with her. And I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying, but I think I see her more with a lighthearted person than with a super serious person.
Exactly. I don't think she likes something fun. John Paul Jones is not like
not
she
the
country to go and like be boyfriend and girlfriend with John Paul Jones. Like she didn't do that for many other people. And so she likes people that make her laugh and that are light and that are fun, and they could have seriously things that go on in their life. But I think she just gravitates towards having a good time and smiling. She likes to laugh, it seems. Hi, Tamika. Nice last name. Are we related? Question mark. Had the hometown date, in my opinion. I think so. Like I liked the imagination of like reliving New York City.
I think he put together the best one.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even really remember the other ones that much. Oh yeah, I guess I remember yeah. I got what you're saying. Does anything else happen on that date? His dad didn't want to say goodbye to them, which I thought was really sweet. So I like that she was along with his family. But it worries me because I don't know if she's going to choose him. Anyways, except as Ivan, I think he's such a little cutie. They don't have the sexual connection that I think that she would be looking for in starting a relationship with someone, but I think she really likes him, and he's like a kind person. And I really liked his family. Like his mom was so cute and kind of like, well, what if she doesn't choose you? Like kind of being real, but without it being like heavy. So you can kind of gets his lightheartedness with dealing with heavy situations.
I loved his date. I think it was my personal favorite, just because I think Zach's was the most imaginative, but like some of my favorite things to do like are to be like cooking, spending that quality time, having a glass of wine, like that natural conversation flow. All of that stuff really speaks to me personally, and it felt like the most comfortable environment that was cultivated. So I really liked it, and his parents are so cute.
Tamika says, I love Tayshia and Ivan together, but I don't think she's into him. I know.
Why do we think she just knows that he's not there on the same level as the others that she has? Because on paper and just like from what we've seen of Ivan, he's the ultimate catch here, like really of all of these guys. But there's just something that we all agree is like missing. So he comes out looking like a champ this season for me. He is like clearly makes a case for being an awesome bachelor, I think.
Yes, and I think that he's going to get the ladies after the show. I mean, it could be partially because, like we're saying, like he's so gentle and he's so kind that there's missing maybe a little bit element of like, desire. Like he's not. That Zach is sexually attractive to Tayshia. Like you can tell by the way he kisses her. Like there's that want from him, and I don't think that he really exudes that. It could be because he's shy. It could be that he's inexperienced. It could be that this is just the way that he operates. He's not that sexually forward. But I think that we're not seeing that sexual energy from him. He's not receiving that, and so I think that it's hard for her to put herself in a situation where she's going to get engaged with somebody that she doesn't feel the sexual attraction from. So that's kind of what I'm feeling about it. Like
that's fair.
Their kiss is sweet, but I don't think that it's like makes her want to jump the phone.
Yeah.
That's what I think the problem is. So the beginning though was like his niece was on the screen teaching them how to cook something. Bring in, so cute. And I was obsessed with cooking family meals. And so like you, I love making meals and making it look good, taste good, and like hanging out. Like eating is just such a great, like a fun task to do with somebody. Me and my best friend, we go to restaurants all the time because we just love talking over food and wine. It's just like a really great combination. So it was nice to bring her into his world. I think they were cooking some Filipino style food, which is great. I love experiencing new flavors, new cultures, and so I would love this date too. Agree with you about the imagination of actually both those other dates are things that I really would like, but for the intimacy level, I liked Ivan's date here for sure. Ivan's mom's so cute. Yes, she is, and she's the second girl that I brought home, and so I think that also. Might be what Tayshia's picking up on is that he's not really relationship savvy. And so I think that she wants someone that's a little bit more in the know about relationships. And I think that's what she likes about Zach is that he's a little bit older. He's had more experience. And so they have a little more of a mature relationship. And I think that's what she likes about Zach. And so I think it's a little bit more of a kiddie kind of relationship with Ivan. You know
what? That actually makes sense that this is only the second girl that he's brought home. That adds a layer that I think maybe, okay, so I believe that he likes her. I think he does have feelings for her, but I think maybe also even for himself, like when you haven't had as many experiences of serious relationships or been in love with as many people or whatever, you know, you might think that that person is like the person and just believe that so deep within you, but like something's not really there. So I think maybe also he's believing deeply that she's that person for him, and he won't realize until he actually finds the right person for him that she wasn't, but hopefully a helpful step along the way for him.
Absolutely. Like, this is a learning experience for his, like, his heart here, you know, and like learning what love actually feels like. And so he might have these tingly feelings and like a love for her, but it might not be like the real love that most people are looking for.
Yeah.
Sam says, okay, this might be a hot take. Do we get that sexual energy from Brendan, though? He seems laid back as well and quirky. When they kiss, though, there seems to be a vibe, you know? And there is some sort of connection that I feel when they kiss. I do agree that he is laid back and that he is quirky, but he gets a little bit more serious when they kiss, you know? In my opinion.
Yeah. It just feels, I mean, we're judging a reality show too, so like the editing makes it very difficult to quantify any of this because it's also how they're presenting it, but they seem to have more palpable sexual chemistry, and that's present, or at least around, when I see them interacting with each other. Whereas like I don't really see sexual chemistry with Ivan, but I would say like there's like physical forward people like a Ben who are like this top level where it's like all physicals to start and then whatever. And then Zach and Brendan are kind of in a similar area for me, where they're both like not necessarily off the charts physical, maybe Zach a bit more than Brendan, but like same medium level, and then Ivan like slightly below that.
I agree with that assessment. Hundo. Tamika says to Sam, nope, LOL, I was for sure that Brendan so Ben screwed up. LOL. Interesting.
Really?
I didn't see that. I thought that Ivan was going home, actually. Before the actual date happened. I was thinking like hometown dates, like Ivan is not going to get the fantasy suite date. Like that's not going
to. That's exactly what I thought too.
Yeah, I just didn't see her wanting to have that nighttime stuff with him, you know?
Also, they put the Brendan date first. I don't know what order they filmed them in, but we were presented the Brendan date first. And I actually have no idea if there's statistics to back this up, but I just have to believe that this is true. Usually the person that they put first doesn't leave because they're like, it's not going to be the most dramatic hometown. It's not going to be like a Dean's family hometown. It's just going to be like, good. It's going to be fine. She's probably going to move him along because he's been the front runner. So like, let's put that one first because that's the first one that people will forget, and put the ones that are a little bit more important or contribute to like whatever's going to happen with the elimination later. But again, I don't know if the data backs this up. It's just my observation.
I hear you. I agree with you. So Ivan's dad kind of talks about his first marriage and stuff like that and relating to Tayshia. And I actually felt, I don't know if you felt this way as well, but Tayshia seemed a little bit defensive when she was speaking with or listening to the dad about his experience. Did you pick up anything like that as well?
No, I think she thought it was going to go in a different direction when it started, because he was kind of like asking her about like having been married before. But I think it was actually really sweet that he was able to relate to her and speak to the advice of his own experience. I feel like that's really nice way to disarm somebody, to be able to relate about a vulnerability like that and like let her know that she's not judged because that's happened to her in her life. Like, I think that was his way of being like, I get it. And this is what I learned.
Yeah, so
I didn't feel she was defensive. Maybe though.
I think she was defensive, and maybe I didn't recognize if there was a shift after. I kind of just like wrote that. Maybe I just wrote that down. I don't remember the journey through that conversation. Just remember that she was defensive at some point, but it could have been at the beginning, and that would make sense as well. Ooh, is this a hot take? So Jewel, hi Jewel. The first hometown date usually leaves. Do we have?
Do they?
We have facts about this one.
I'm gonna have to look this up because I actually am curious to know. I feel like they don't, but maybe they do.
We're definitely off season. We're gonna have to do like the Bachelor tropes, because this is something I want to know the stats on this. You know what I mean? I want to know the
Yeah.
like, you know, final threes, whatever, you know, all the stats and all the different tropes and how many times people jumped and wrapped their legs around the guy, like how many times the first impression rose goes home before, you know, all that stuff. So I think that's a fun research project for us to do maybe in the new year when we don't, well, no, we're gonna have Matt James's season. Oh!
Yeah, I know. It's just coming up. It's just coming up hot. I mean, I'll have to look it up. I don't know the order of everything. I could wildly be throwing out facts, but I'm curious to know. I don't feel like maybe, I don't know. We're going to find out. We're going to find out.
We will find out. So Ivan and his mom like basically want to welcome Tayshia into their family with open arms, and then shocker, but they had his brother surprise them. So you know, Ivan has spoken very highly of his younger brother, who kind of had some troubling times where he had to spend some time in jail, and you know, he fell in love with his daughter because, like, you know, he's the uncle, and he really respects and has learned a lot from his younger brother. So I thought it was really cool that he came in to the date. He definitely seemed to have a lot of wisdom. Like, he kind of was just like throwing down wisdom bombs. What do you think about the brother?
I loved that they like had that reveal moment. That was really sweet when he came out, and then basically like Ivan got emotional. It was really nice to see. He obviously has a very deep relationship with his brother. And like you said, has spoken so highly of him. So I'm really glad that he actually was able to be there. I liked his conversation with Tayshia. I think Tayshia was very welcoming. And I think, honestly, I think Ivan and his family deserve a lot of respect for letting us in and showing humanity to someone who has previously been incarcerated and is reintegrated into society and deserves respect, you know, as a person. So it's very brave of them, especially considering the audience of this show. Like, I think for a lot of the American audience of this show, it might be representation that they're not used to seeing. So I'm all for it. I thought he was really great in his conversation with Tayshia. And I think if she was going to go forward with Ivan, she would need to know his brother and actually have that face-to-face conversation. So
absolutely, I stand with you. I definitely felt that it was just, we were very used to seeing kind of a cookie cutter family in these hometown dates. It seems, we've talked about it before, but this whole season, there's been a lot more deeper conversations, a lot more serious conversations that have been shared. And we're getting to look at people that are different than we are, that we're not used to seeing on The Bachelorette or The Bachelor. And so I definitely agree with you that, like, it was very welcome to see somebody that's just different than we're used to, that was also like, it wasn't paying into the tropes of like what you would expect them to be like. And so I'm happy that, I mean, I didn't think that he was going to, like, I haven't spoken so highly about him. I thought he was going to be a great person, but it was nice to see that he also lived up to being a great person, despite of any preconceived notions I may have had, you know?
Exactly.
So it was great.
It's all about breaking the stigmas, which has been happening a lot this season. And a lot of these situations or a lot of these people and their experiences are things that are heavily stigmatized. So you look at Ivan's family and they're an incredible family and there's a ton of love there. And I think that's great to see and to see on this show, so that more people can understand that there's a lot going on and there's a lot of complexity to everybody's situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this whole episode, I was just kind of like shocked that I had some like biases and like, you know, preconceived ideas on how people were going to be. And I was pleasantly surprised by being proven different than I was or like imagined going in. So, yeah, I grew watching this. It was just really surprising that like watching The Bachelorette, I'm having like some self-reflection growth. So it was cool. Anything else happened on that date that I can't remember? I don't think so.
No.
So then they had previews, and in the previews for the next segment, I see this woman sitting on the couch, and I'm like, she looks so familiar. Who is she? Who is she? I'm like, I know who she is. I know who she is. I'm just like racking my brain. Who is she? She's been on TV before. And I'm like, is she someone's sister? Like, no, who is she? And I'm like, Top Chef, Chef Antonia. I was so happy to figure it out before we got back from commercial break, or like, because I think they teased it for a couple of the commercial breaks, and then like before the Ben segment happened, I figured it out. I felt very accomplished. You watched Top Chef as well, correct?
Of course, yeah. I was so excited to see her. I love Antonia.
It was so good, though. I was like, how does this all fit in? And then they didn't even explain it. So Chef Antonia was like the family friend that came to support Ben on his hometown date. And then also his sister was there to support him. So his parents, I don't know if they are alive or not, but they were there. It was just his sister and Chef Antonia. I really liked her. How the heck did they get her to come on the show? Like, I don't know, but they didn't really talk about her being Chef Antonia. I was surprised about that.
Apparently, so I looked this up because a lot of people had the same question about like why she was there or whatever. So I think he's actually friends with like a few people in the restaurant industry in LA, including Antonia, but like I think he trains her. And apparently he also knows like Brooke Williamson as well. So I don't know if he's her trainer or whatever, but they're obviously like friends, but I think he also does her physical, like personal training.
Oh my God, you're so right, Tamika. His dad is a doctor, and I think he couldn't come due to COVID. He did say that. Thank you. Just so you know, for whatever reason, I got so involved in the episode that I stopped taking notes, and so this is going off of memory right now. So you guys want to help us out with the best. I kind of, it's a little bit spotty, my memory of this. So thank you, Tamika. You are right. He did mention that. Because like, I was like, why is Antonia seating on the sofa? I know it was just a collision of worlds. I was like, I didn't understand. I'm like, like who? But I'm happy that we figured it out. So she was kind of saying to him, actually, you know what? You're right though. Sorry, I'm going to back up. I did hear that he might be their personal trainer, or they train at the same gym, or they were connected that way. But they must have more of a connection than that, because why would she come as his family member to the Bachelorette? So maybe she's a family friend who he also trains. Because I'm like, would you really go to your trainer on the Bachelorette?
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, we don't really know. Do we really know anything about his relationship with his parents? I mean, he spoke about how his sister was a very huge, like, person in his life and supporting him getting through all of his mental health stuff and everything that was going on in the past. So I don't know if his parents are, you know, maybe as close, or I have no idea. Like, this is purely speculative. I'm not sure, but again, they could have just not wanted to come, and then this was just a person that was like a close friend that would be able to quarantine and be willing to do it. I don't really know.
And I guess like maybe like he talked to her about it, like, hey, like I'm going to be going to the Bachelorette. Like I know I can talk to you about this because you've been on reality TV shows before, and so I know that you're not going to spread anything. So maybe she's known about him going on the show, and maybe he asked her just like in advance, like, hey, like would you be willing to come as like my hometown date, because you know you're already in LA, so you wouldn't necessarily have to quarantine as long or whatever. It'd be easy for them to come and be on the show. So yeah, I'm thinking that he must have asked her in advance, and maybe he was asking her for advice along the way in the process, that she was connected to the story of this and said like, yeah, of course I'll come and be your support system. So she was really kind of pushing him, I think, in the right direction of being open and vulnerable. Like I thought she gave him good advice and being like, you need to say that, you're saying that to me, you need to say this to her. And I thought that she really did give him some sound advice. And his sister as well seemed like a really loving, caring person, that he respected her opinion. But he couldn't seem to break through that barrier with Tayshia. What do you think happened there?
I think I think maybe his timing's just not good. I don't know. I think like he tried to get there, but he also like missed opportunities to connect in certain moments. I feel like she, at least from what we've seen, she's constantly had to tell him to like step it up, or not constantly, but like has given him like, you know, some talkings to about what she requires from him. So I think maybe she was done with having to, you know,
Probe.
try and get that out of him. I don't know though. I mean, I think their best connection they had was the physical aspect, and I don't know beyond that if she was really seeing herself with him.
Well, I think she was trying, because she had the chemistry with him, that she was maybe allowing herself to overlook the fact that he wasn't really giving her anything emotional.
Yeah.
And this was his chance to kind of combine the two and being like, yes, we have this physical attraction, and yes, also like I'm emotionally open to growing in a relationship with you. And I really just think that she was just looking and being like, man, like, do I want to spend every day wondering if this person cares about me? And like, no. Like, I have 3 other men who at least make me feel like they want to be with me. Maybe some others, like Zach wants to do the marriage right away, probably even Ivan, and Brendan has a little bit of doubts, but she understands the situation. He's been married before. So I think that she just didn't feel confident in their relationship because he just doesn't express himself that way. And so
Yeah.
I totally got why she let him go in the end. But I just
How do you
sorry, go ahead.
How do you feel about this? So a lot of the conversation online right now, there's like kind of a camp of people that believe, and this is also because this is what Rachel Lindsay said on her podcast, or her take on it, that Ben is just like trying to make a play to be the next Bachelor, and that everything, even within the hometown date and the way that his conversation went with Antonia, felt very like set up, like her kind of like giving him like a boost to kind of get him to reach that I love you realization, and that he's really just trying to secure a spot potentially as a Bachelor, or to just like, you know, move his career forward in this way. I don't know. I don't know how I feel.
Hot take. Before we analyze that being a possibility, do you think that he's like could be the next Bachelor?
I didn't think so. No, I mean,
you and Brazil. When we were talking, she's like, "Oh my God, Ben's gonna be like the next Bachelor after Matt James for sure." I was like, "Wait, what? Am I missed something?" Because for me, I don't find him attractive. I just don't want to see him necessarily like juggling all these women. You know, I don't know. I just was like, oh, I didn't know that he was the heartthrob of the season.
I think he's got the story that they can definitely milk, and then the way that this played out for him in terms of the I love you and getting there and revealing so much about himself and being vulnerable and all this stuff, that's like the perfect foundation for someone who's still looking for love. And like he very much did kind of like lean into that a bit more. So I was buying what he was selling. Like last week I was like on the Ben train. I was like, whoa, he's amazing. Like, so I think I don't know. I don't know if it's like more calculated than what we're getting. Time will tell, but I didn't think that he was in contention to be the next Bachelor until the last couple of weeks.
I'm actually flabbergasted right now. We'll still get back to your topic. So Chantele says a lot of people thought that she would take Ben at least to the fantasy suite since they had such a good physical chemistry. Well, if though he's trying to be the Bachelor, he may have closed himself off, kind of like you're saying, and not pursue this relationship, because then he could be, oh my God, he's never been able to say that he loves you or loves a woman like you're suggesting. And he's saving that for maybe being like, kind of like how Ben Higgins was like, am I not lovable, or whatever his phrase. you know, and it could be creating that key phrase like you're saying. So he might have closed that off. I could see him doing that because it's a good move. Tamika says, I think that Ben was a front runner because no matter how much he threw at her, she was like, okay, but I think their timing wasn't there. But if he could be confident enough to say, I'm falling in love, I wish that he did. But if he has other agenda, Cassandra laughed my ass off. I do not find Ben attractive either. He's not my thing. Don't get the hype. Me neither. But I mean, I didn't like Colton as well. And like Colton, people were just like dying over Colton. I was like, not my thing. Cassandra says, but he looks kind of like Tyler C. I think that's what people are into. Tyler C, though, has some swagger, though.
Yeah. I think Tyler's like unquestionably hot, whereas Ben is polarizing at best in terms of hotness.
Tamika says Ben has no chance. I think Joe Park would be great. Even Ivan would be great. Oh, as the Bachelor. Is that grocery store Joe? Is that Joe Park? Oh, no.
Joe Park, Dr. Joe.
Dr. Joe.
I mean, listen, these producers are like geniuses at doing what they do. They could craft a narrative out of thin air, and they've done it before because Peter was the Bachelor. Like, come on. Like, there's so many things that have happened where there's no backstory that they've made like a pile of poo into something that smells like roses. So like, do I think Ben has a shot? Sure. Anybody does. They're just going to go with whatever angle they want for that season, which for him would be like tragic, like past, like all this stuff that happened to him, really having a hard time opening up, like finally he got there, hasn't found the person in his life, but he's ready, like all of that.
You should be a Bachelor producer. Like,
please.
Did you ever watch? Did I ask you before? Did you watch? What was it called? You know the Unreal.
Yeah,
it's so good. Like,
yeah, it's great.
Any of you guys haven't seen it? So Unreal, I know that for sure they did two seasons. They might have done more. I just I wasn't living in Vancouver anymore, so I didn't hear as much about it. But it's basically it's a TV show based on like these Bachelor type reality franchises, and they just show the producers being ruthless, and you're just like, wow, like I wouldn't be surprised at the lengths that real producers might be going to get the story, or like the black lead or whatever. So if you want something very entertaining to watch about kind of reality TV shows, it's very good. I would highly recommend it. Tamika either. Exactly. He's not for me. Sam says Ben's okay. He has nice eyes, and that's it. Yeah, he does have nice eyes. Nice and light blue.
I also think everybody on this show, maybe you might agree with this, like anybody who's like, you know, classically attractive, as most people on this show are, obviously, considering they get poached based on their social media activity, they're all probably super attractive in person. Like, I think they all probably look like highly attractive people in person. But TV, it's always a little bit of a skew. Like, I think if you saw him in person, you might be like, whoa, but who can say?
I mean, I want to see these people in person, because then I'll be like, oh my God, you're only 5'7"? Wow, I was expecting you to be taller or whatnot. Tamika says, this is true. I haven't watched The Bachelor watched in years for just that reason. I will be watching Matt James though, but he also wouldn't be my choice for the first Black Bachelor. Would he?
He would be or wouldn't be?
I would think wouldn't be.
I mean, it was a wild choice. We also are going to be in a very different scenario when it comes to casting of the next Bachelor, because Matt James is already on deck. So we'll have, I guess, another season of Men as well that would be in the running, and Paradise, whatever happens with that. So they have good guys to choose from this season if they really wanted to, but they also are going to have like way more people.
Joe Park, like I think that would be something that people, I could see them getting behind, just to be like, this is just groundbreaking, you know. But they might also want to put somebody maybe of their typical Bachelor style because they've had 2 really unconventional seasons. They might want to get their blonde virgin. So I don't know.
They haven't had a good Bachelor in so long. Like, there's been a string of really brutal Bachelors. Come on, like, we got to do something.
True. But we are going to be covering it, Matt James,
Of
right?
course. Yeah, of course. Of course. I'll obviously be watching. Considering that I've still been watching all this time, it doesn't really matter as much as I want to talk shit. I will be there.
Right. Samiko saying wouldn't. Exactly. I was like, I think she might have meant wouldn't. He was nobody's choice. I wanted Mike. I did want Mike too. Gossip wise, you know why Mike wasn't the choice. I think I heard on Rachel Lindsay's podcast that she talked to maybe one of the producers, and he said that he maybe did something or said something that made him not be the best person for that role anymore. Have you heard?
Like, for a while there were rumblings of it, but I don't know any of the details, to be honest. I always thought it was weird that they passed over that opportunity. It's like they were jumping through hoops to not cast him, it seemed like. Because on paper, everybody, like, even like most of Bachelor Nation was like, yes, please cast Mike. And then they just didn't do that. And then now it's not lost on us that they're pushing for diversity, and then suddenly after they're being called to action, they cast a Black Bachelor when they've had options for this from time.
I think that personally, they didn't want to do Mike as the first Black Bachelor. Maybe they found something in his past that they didn't want to talk about on the show or whatnot, like who knows. But I think that they didn't want to appease that because they didn't find that when Rachel Lindsay was the Black Bachelorette first time, that the ratings were that great. It wasn't as well received as they had hoped from everybody. So I think that they didn't want to have a Black Bachelor, especially because it didn't seem to pan out when they had the Black Bachelorette. Oh my gosh, Black Bachelorette. But then 2020 happens and Black Lives Matter happens, and more people are taking these networks to town. There's like the Bachelor Diversity Committee that's like really, really holding them to, hey, include more people in your show or else I'm not watching. And so I think that they're like, okay, like this is bad. Like more people are like making us stand up for diversity. And so I think they're like, okay, well, let's just get Matt James in there. He's friends with Tyler and they love Tyler. So let's just put him in there. But I don't think they were ready to take that step with Mike at that time. But he's such a cute. I'd love to see Mike as the Bachelor.
Missed opportunity. And like, please, like, what did we have to endure instead? Like things like Ari, like 10 years later, and Peter and like Colton. Oh my God. These are terrible choices. Not good. Jewel says Matt James wouldn't be hers either. He got it because of who he's friends with. Exactly. They're just hoping to get all Tyler's fans to be on watching the show. Exactly. I don't think I've ever liked a Bachelor. You know what? That's true.
Beginning, when they used to have just like random, very affluent men being the Bachelor, there was one guy that I remember thinking like, ooh, he's hot, but he never ended up being the Bachelor. I think it was like Byron ended up getting the Bachelor role instead. But they had 2 people that were like, ooh, is it him or is it him? And it was the other guy that didn't get picked that I was like, oh, he's kind of attractive. But you are correct. I don't think that
you know what? I'm going back through the Bachelors, and I'm gonna go right ahead and agree with this take, Cassandra, because it's not good. The scroll is not good. I would say the last likable Bachelor, who I want to say is not someone that I personally enjoyed as the Bachelor or as a character, is probably Ben Higgins, and that's the last likable person I can find of like the last 10. So,
well, I remember
rough.
What was his name? Bob. I didn't like him as the Bachelor necessarily, but I remember being like, oh, he's kind of cool. Like, I'd like to see him. It would be kind of different. I don't know, like Travis Stork. Like, come on. Like, what's happening? Andrew Firestone.
And that's like way back in the day. Like, Like, but season 14, like after Jason Mesnick, from Jake Pavelka till now, is just like a lineup so brutal. So we watched The Bachelor obviously for the women that are the contestants, apparently, because this is brutal. Whew, that sent me. I didn't realize how bad it was.
It's so true. It's so true. The only Bachelor season I watched was Jason Mesnick since it was on Netflix. Did you guys like that season? Yes. I liked, what's her name? His original choice?
Melissa.
I liked her. I liked their story. And then it was pretty dramatic, him like dumping her and then choosing his runner-up. But it made me not like Jason anymore. Like, it just made me think he was kind of smarmy. So it was interesting and like an enjoyable season, but I didn't like that ending and the sitting on the couch, like talking about how now he's with Molly. I was like, I didn't like that personally.
Yeah, but I guess it worked out. Like, they're still together and have kids, so
yeah, I'm always to them that it works out if they're going to do that to somebody. But I just wish it hadn't happened that way for Melissa, but she's doing great. Sandra, Peter, Colton, Ari, Nick, Ben, yuck to all of them. It's so true.
Oh man, don't forget Chris Soules and Juan Pablo as well.
Is that in the same time bracket? Like,
yeah. Ben F. It's just horrific. It's not good. It's not good.
We had the guy with the twin that never chose anybody? Brad Womack.
Brad.
Get out of here! Twice. We had him
Brad.
Twice.
Jake Pavelka, terrible.
Okay, Rachel's season had better ratings than Becca K. Well, I didn't enjoy Becca's season, but I wasn't a big Becca stan. I thought that it was shitty what Ari did, but I wasn't a Becca stan. Mike has been very open to liking certain type of women. I think that's the reason. Oh, what type of women, Tamika? Can you elaborate? Cassandra says that was an excuse used by producers to not have Black people on as the lead.
I agree. I thought Rachel's season actually did well.
But I think in like female Bachelor standards, I think that they were expecting it to do better.
Oh, maybe. I mean, she's one of my personal favorite leads. I really enjoyed her as the lead.
Me too. And like, I loved like the whole dramatic relation. Well, this is what happened though with people not liking Rachel's season, is they wanted her to choose Peter. They didn't want her to choose Brian. And so I think that the season has a bad taste in people's mouth because they wanted her to choose Peter. I personally really liked them better together, but we also didn't see the relationship progression as much with Brian because I think that the studio wanted her to choose Peter as well. So
I think from what she's expressed, she feels kind of done dirty by that edit overall because they really like downplayed her relationship with Brian, whereas like she knew that that's who she was going to choose. And they really made it seem like he was kind of like option number 2, which has happened before on this show. That happened with Desiree's season as well. I think it's after Brooks leaves or whatever, then that's when Chris like really becomes her option from what we see, but they're still together now. So it's unfortunate that it played out that way because I liked her top 4 maybe the most besides this top 4, which I think is probably the best one we've had in a long time. Because they were at least interesting people. Like that Dean hometown was crazy. Like I think about that all the time. Eric was a good person on that show too. And they seem to have some interesting stuff going on. Obviously Peter and Brian. But besides that, like we've had some pretty historically bad Final Fours. Tayshia's is probably the best one. Like honestly, I actually at least like all 4 of these guys.
So true. Cassandra with a little bit of a hot take here. I'm scared of alienating their racist audience. I mean, I think that's what has been shifting is with them kind of introducing people for more the masses. And I think that before they didn't want to take that risk with Mike. But now that it's part of the conversation is the diversity element, that they're willing to maybe do what people are asking for, but they kind of are like, but we'll do it with somebody that we know are potentially like our white audience already like. So they already like Tyler Cameron. It's his best friend. They're kind of already used to him. He's also Black, and it's perfect timing. So I think it was just a perfect fit for him to be the Bachelor and kind of introduce a little more diversity into all of their audience. Oops. Tamika says Rachel threatened to walk from promoting the series as well if they did become more inclusive. It's true. She's definitely very vocal on like diversity. Tamika says, I love the earlier seasons. I saw watching at Jason's season and I knew as he was going to do what he did. I wasn't mad at it. Ooh.
I like the earlier ones too. I do agree. They should go back to just like getting a Bachelor that is not necessarily in the franchise, but is actually like, you know, either got a really like amazing career or like some kind of, you know, just like, you know, appealing person like they did before, and have it be that way, because it doesn't have to be somebody from within the franchise. We've seen that doesn't always work very well. I guess Matt isn't, so still adjacent to, but
yeah, no, I agree with you too, that I definitely was interested more. I mean, I'm already hooked, so I'm going to watch no matter what. But before, when I started watching it, it was like, ooh, he is an eligible Bachelor that he has all these women vying for him. And so like that was kind of how I got roped in. It's like, ooh, like this opportunity for this man that like he has everything in his life but love, you know? And so that's how they got me hooked. And so I wish that, I do agree that they went back to kind of their old formula, because that's what got us all hooked, instead of it now being overly produced and, you know, choosing people that are within a franchise because they feel like they have built-in audiences already.
And people are making a play like as contestants. There's just so much more awareness, and social media became a really big thing, and how that's impacted Bachelor Nation, that like we all know people are trying to be the next lead, and they're like trying to play the game that way when they go on this show. Like it just like, let's get someone totally out of left field that's not playing that game to be cast as the Bachelor, because it might lead to maybe some more interesting results at this point than like X, Y, and Z influencer being the lead and not, you know, not really offering much.
Well, and not like finding the love story at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
We're learning that all these people like, you know, just want their followers or whatever, and like they'll stick together for the ring and the publicity shots. But what we end up liking for the very beginning, it's kind of becoming lost. So, I mean, I still will watch it probably because it's just such great junk food.
Definitely. Definitely. A trash person I will always be watching.
That's so true. Lily, hi Lily. Hey guys, this has been really one of the most mysterious seasons. I truly don't know who she's going to pick, but I think it's Zach. But I want her with Brendan. They seem like a better match. I think that that's like the general consensus. And if that's the general consensus, she's probably going to choose Zach then. Oh, weird. Or nobody. Maybe she's going to choose nobody. I don't know. There's so much tears coming in the next preview, you know, like her crouching down and crying and stuff like that. Anything else that happened on this episode that you want to touch on that you can remember?
Not that I can think of. I think we pretty much covered everything.
Figured it out. Woohoo! Definitely, I'm looking forward to the next two episodes. So it's going to be a Monday night and a Tuesday night finale. I don't believe there's going to be an after the final rose. I think that they heard that that's not happening, but maybe they're going to do a Zoom one at some point. I hope so. I am intrigued to see how this journey ends for Tayshia. Any updates on Dale and Claire?
I think they're still together. They've been posting on Instagram. They've been creating some reels on Instagram.
Oh, I know, but they're not funny though. It's so contrived. I'm just like cringe. Cassandra says, if you were Tayshia, who would you pick?
I mean, I would pick Brendan.
I'd pick Brendan too.
If I was Tanya and I was in that situation, I might actually pick Zach, because I like deep people that have like an ability to connect to their darkness and articulate that. So I really enjoy that type of personality. But if I was Tayshia, I would pick Brendan.
Tamika said she would have picked Damar. Damar might be just a little bit young, but he's super cute.
Damar came across awesome also on the Men Tell All. I was like, yes, give us more.
Bleached hair, but he still has a very cute face, and I thought that how he was standing up for who was it?
He was defending I think was it
defending Noah, or was he defending? I forget who was defending, but I like it. He was like saying Noah. It was okay. So yeah, Cassandra says it was Noah. Cassandra says I heard some rumors that Dale was being sketchy in New York with some other girls, but nothing concrete has come out of it yet. I mean, the sketchy thing that I heard or saw was like he was hanging out with some of his model friends in New York, and kind of causing a little bit of a scene at a restaurant. And I don't know. I'm not sure if it's.
I mean, they're not going to be married.
You don't think so?
No.
My mom says that she heard that they were house shopping.
I just don't see it. I don't see it being a lasting long-term relationship. I think it's still COVID. It's the way this happened. You know, the honeymoon phase ends eventually.
Defending Noah. Yes, definitely cougar status for me, but I love his personality. Who's cougar status? Oh, like Damar. Yes, cougar status for me too. He could literally be my child. My goddaughter is turning the same age as Damar, so he could be my child. So, maybe that's why I can't see him maybe sexually, because he's too young for me.
I would love to take one of his spin classes.
Yes,
he seems like he'd be actually amazing at that.
Such so motivating and like smiley. Cassandra says Claire is definitely a sugar mama to Dale, so he may stay because of that. Yeah, I think he might stay for the 2 years and like get that ring locked down, get those endorsement deals, build his career, and then he's still only like 33. Like, boom, let's go on to the next one, you know? That's my thoughts, but hopefully they're doing better than I'm imagining them to. I hope so. Anything else about this episode though, lady? Obviously, love your hot takes.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna take it back and see and do some research about who has the first hometown date and how they finish the season. I will bring that next week because I do want to know. I do want to know the stat.
How are you going to research that? Are you going to actually watch those clips of the seasons, or are you going to like look at Wikipedia or whatever?
I'm just going to look up what order they were in. And then
reason why I'm asking is I wonder if you could also get the stat on the leg jump around the waist.
Oh,
like did that start at a certain season?
Just from Final Four though, because that's been happening.
Yes, take notes, please. We need to know when wrap around the legs started being a trope for the Bachelorette.
I will try and find the origin story for the jump and wrap legs around for next week as well. As you can tell, I've got a lot going on in my life, so I'm going to research this.
Thank you. I mean, I'll definitely take a look too to see if I can find any information in that regard as well. Always a pleasure, Tanya. Are you working on anything right now other than your research for the Bachelorette?
No, not much. Just locked down and living it up. But if you enjoy listening to me, you can follow me on Instagram. If you don't, that's also totally fine. But you know where to find me. There you got
it. And also for me, you can find me at Reality Realness with 3 S's. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already. You're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Maybe by the new year. Can we do it in 2 weeks, guys? Let's make that happen. So we're over the halfway mark, which is great. And so let's just pick up the pace and subscribe. It'd be awesome. We love chatting with you. So thank you, Cassandra, Tamika, Lily. Who else do we have here? Sam, Jewel. Is that everybody? And if I miss, Dolores, of course, Michelle, Miss Nash. And if I missed anybody, thank you so much for hanging out with in the chat. We love hanging out with you guys. And we'll be back a couple times next week. So hopefully we'll have some answers for you. The important questions will be answered. Bye.